Hi, it's a SIG package management, April 20th, 23 call. Thursday. Going to share the screen. Yeah, can you guys see it now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I don't see too many of us are here. So this is definitely in progress. I think I know he was working on that one. John before left, I don't think he completed, but I think he's working on that one. So so do we have Sandeep? He's working on this design proposal. So Simon, can you give us a little bit sense of where at this one, the 117, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've submitted the PR to KPT. It's also linked in the ticket, if I understand that GitHub project correctly. So if you click on the ticket, it should be linked all the way in the bottom.
Oh, no, this one, I think. Click this one.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, but regardless, I have opened the PR that fixes this. Let's put it like this.
Okay, got it. Okay, I think maybe you have the ticket here, maybe. Oh no. So do you mind putting a link here if you don't, Simon, on this ticket?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure that there was one, but yeah, I will get this in order. But yes, so PR is out. There's a couple of things. CI is a bit complaining, but yeah, we'll get this done. So this one should be finished by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I think probably if you can just put a link here, probably some of us can go. Anybody who's interested, they can see what's going on there.
Yeah, so maybe sorry. So for me, there is a link there. Maybe. So if I open this, can you just open? Yeah. If you yeah, it's 117. Can you like refresh the page or open this maybe in like a new tab?
Yeah.
If you scroll all the So this is exactly what I meant. So okay, yeah, there is a PR link.
Okay. It's a GitHub of what it wanted to show in a particular view. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. That's it.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah. And then on this one again, this is John. He's working on it. Probably he'll give us more sense of it, where exactly we are at the end of probably when he comes back from Hawaii next week. And this one is a part of the installer story. Vish, are you on the call? Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are on the call. So please, can you? I think you want to. Yeah.
So I can say that currently I am. Let me first go off tangential a little bit. I'm trying to bring up clusters. Actually, not kind clusters, but Kubernetes clusters using kubeadmin on VMs. And I'm looking at this Ansible scripts that has been written by Vim earlier and enhanced later. And to me, the packages and instructions for all these things were done in the workshop. And I'm trying to apply them to the actual clusters. I'm in the process. And I will have a better idea if anything deviates from what we already have captured in Ansible. And if it is instructions, I will write down those instructions, me and Ravi will review it, and then provide those instructions here, or any scripts that can be used for either install or also for the testbed deployment. So it can be used for multiple things.
All right, cool. Thank you. Thanks, Vish. So, I mean, any comments or any suggestions? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Basically, I was looking at this and I was like, scratching my head, like, hey, we already have it. And now, since I'm doing it for the test integration bed as well, I was able to like at least grasp it and figure out, what we can do. So this is something, Ravi, I know this happened this morning since yesterday. So I'll sync up with you to say what I mean.
Yeah,
by
sure,
this.
sure.
Yeah.
I think we need to go beyond what is there from Vim, right? Because what I understand is that you want to kind of do it on all kinds of public cloud infrastructures.
Yeah, if you look at it, right, some of these things, they are all sitting in a GitHub repo at this point of time. And then if you look at what we did for the workshop, we pull those from the repo, we put it on that local VM, right, Vim, and then we executed the scripts to the different clusters. So some of those things will still continue to remain the same, except that, I mean, even if we go to a different infrastructure provider like Amazon or Azure,
EKS or GK.
yeah, some of the where this needs to be housed, located, basically GitHub, and that is something common, right? So those are the kind of things I was looking at, and I feel like we have some base already out there that we can build upon.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because I was also looking at what Victor had. Forget the toolkit that he prepared. I think, yeah, there was some action on kind of syncing up with him too, and I know Vim is also talking to him a lot.
Yeah,
So
I had a bit of a discussion, if I may, with Victor. So we had this debate, it was not a debate or a discussion on pros and cons, which is the following. What Victor is doing is, or at least that's my understanding, what he's doing is that he wants to build a binary that does the installation, right? So in other words, you have no dependencies at all. It's just a binary that you get from somewhere and you install. Now, I see what is the good thing about the binary is that you don't have dependencies in theory, right? But what we also see is that we are still changing quite a bit, right? And there is a trade-off between being independent versus being flexible, right? Because it means that for every change that we need, we have to update the code that is in the binary. And so that's the trade-off that you have between scripting versus codifying it at the end of the day, right?
But then when you say binary, because with your script and with Ansible, you have all this kind of parameters that you need. I mean, this environmental variables, or
that will be the same. It will be the same. So in the binary, you'll have a config file similar. So it will be different one, but so you also have data-driven stuff, right? But of course, if you say you need a cluster in AWS or you need a cluster in GKE, now, of course, here again, if you use cluster API, for example, you can abstract that away potentially, right? So, but it all depends on the approach that you take, right? So, of course, what you do, if you do, let's say, cluster API, you spin up a bunch of VMs and you install. Actually, what you're saying, Vish, I personally, I would rather use cluster API than doing the kubectl with VMs, because you already have a project that does it for you and they support all the clouds.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, see, this is more iterative, right? In the sense like, hey, but for the test bed, I need something. Let me go do something.
Sure.
Create it for running end-to-end tests, and then we can always evolve that. Yeah.
But yeah, so in other words, so there is what I'm trying to say is the discussion with Victor is, and probably I think it's good to have both, right? Because scripting is probably you will be more quicker to do an update, or many more people will be able to change it. And you have code from the moment you have something final. So my personal view is use scripting as long as it has to evolve. Yeah. And from the moment you know what you have to do, you codify it and you build a binary with the right knobs, and then off you go, right? So, but it's that trade-off I think we have to discuss. I think it's good to have a discussion with Victor to see how he wants to move forward. But that was the discussion. It was not. So it's a pros and cons between the two, and I see both approaches valid. To be honest.
So if you look at what I am trying to do, right? I mean, because we were thinking that we could just use the GKE cluster, right? Spin it up. But then we found out that the GKE cluster will not actually have multi-support. So, but we can still use the GCP cloud to create VMs and use kubeadmin to create clusters. That's the way we thought. So you are right that we should probably use the open API. Those.
See, I don't know, Simon. Probably you also have a view on this, right? If you need a cluster beyond kind, I would say, at least my view is use cluster API for now because it spins up a VM and installs via kubeadm the whole thing. It has some operations. So I don't know, Simon, because I think you are also familiar in that space. I'm assuming. Do you have a view?
Yeah, I guess we're also super biased because I work for a company that does exactly that. But I mean, I hope this doesn't come off as a sales pitch or anything. But whenever we need stuff like this, we have built like a tool that's called Cube One that we just use, and it has like, it allows you to spin up clusters on all the major cloud providers, on like private providers like OpenStack, on bare metal using kubeadm. So yeah, that's what we just use internally, but it's open source, so it could also be used for our project.
And what's the difference between Kube API, Cluster API? It's an alternative approach?
Yeah, I mean, with Cluster API, you still need to have something that consumes Cluster API, right?
Yeah, you still need a kind cluster to install Cluster API. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have a dependency on something. Yeah, that's true.
That's basically what it is. Like, we have a component that works with Cube One that's called machine controller that can consume an older version of Cluster API, because we have like huge discussions with Cluster API and the direction it's going at the moment, but that can basically spin up new machines for you. But what Cube One really can do is it can set up a whole cluster, including infrastructure, to a certain point. It depends a bit. So sometimes we use Terraform to spin up infrastructure and then use Cube One to turn that infrastructure into a cluster. It's like the normal thing we do. That makes sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah.
All right.
So,
one thing I would want to say is, for the testing perspective, right? I mean, yeah, let's first do, my suggestion, my view is probably we should first make it work in kind and then do with the different clusters, because if we run, one thing that we need to consider is the configuration. If everything is in the single VM, then obviously the whole network configuration is under our control. If the network functions are running in different VMs, then if any changes that is needed to the top of a rack switch, etc., if at all they land up in a different, depending on the host, the VMs are going to land. So we may have some logistical issues there as well. So that is something to consider. So I'm thinking probably we should first make it work everything in a single VM, and then take an iterative step to.
Wait, the network functions are going to be deployed in different VM, different nodes, right? Or else, what's the point of doing this?
No, for the integration testing.
That's what I mean. Integration testing.
In the same VM.
In the same VM, multiple clusters. Yes.
Multiple kind clusters.
In the
So I'm too.
No, not kind cluster, regular cluster. Because Vish said that he could do it in different nodes and different clusters based on VM, multiple VM for management and workload cluster.
Okay, so let me clarify, which might give some additional context to everybody, including Antu and Bala. So Bala, the plan of record and what is happening currently is, at least what myself, Rado, and separately with Stephen Wong decided was, like I had always said, our integration testing, I still want it working on a single VM with kind clusters if we need to go debug, to the point that Bala, you were saying. And I also was saying that we need another one where we need to actually have actual clusters rather than just using kind, because we don't know what kind of issues may not actually, there might be some issues that might not surface if we don't use the actual clusters. So the actual clusters is like a stretch goal. If we can get it done, great. But we want to, at least me, I've been pushing for having both. We want to have both.
Totally agree. Yes, I totally agree. I think you're also, I think we are talking the same thing, Vish. You're also talking about the iterative approach. Let's first get it done with single VM, and then
Yes,
let's
and
move
on the single VM, the progress is at this point of time, Rado has got a PR where he's actually used Terraform template to bring up a VM in the GCP cloud and to be able to invoke the workshop, the post workshop Ansible scripts to bring up the kind clusters. So it is in progress too.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So,
and to your point, we are the stretch goal is to actually bring up the clusters, which I am doing currently, to be able to see if I can replicate the steps from the Ansible that we have and be able to deploy this all on those, the Edge 1, Edge 2, and the regional that we had in the workshop. We are going to, I'm trying that out as we speak. So hopefully I'll have an update.
Okay, because what I'm doing is I have SMF almost working. I'm debugging, and either this weekend or next week, I'm going to be deploying it on its own VM with a cluster, its own cluster, right?
Okay,
and then
I can share my
I'm going to
scripts
take.
with you.
Sorry.
If you are looking to bring up a cluster, I can share my scripts with you to bring up.
No, I have a cluster.
Oh, okay, nice, very nice.
I have Minikube, Kai, and my own cluster running on Ubuntu.
Okay.
And on ARM as well as AMD 64. I have 2 laptops. Anyway, next step was going to bring up UPF and then try to have them talk to each other. That's my roadmap for SMF. And that's why I'm a little concerned when you guys said we're doing single VM kind cluster. Because
no, that was like that iteration approach, right? To get started off with minimal.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Cool.
We want to have something and then we want to build on it.
Yeah, because for communication between the
yes,
the network functions is really the NAT and the network interface that I'm worried about.
Correct.
Yeah, thanks, Vim. Yeah, I think that's well taken. I totally agree. We were mostly talking about iterative steps and how we could set up our CI/CD environment. Thanks.
Trying to under-promise and over-deliver.
Yeah. Thank you. So I think, is there anything else that we need to discuss on this one?
Yeah, not sure. I mean, there's probably another dependency on on that end-to-end setup that we had touched upon yesterday too, right? Based on, because you want to include your URAN same components too, and then class cluster networking issues and so on. So all the bridges and networking that's required to plumb the packets.
Absolutely, yeah, we need to do that as well. I think Ravi, I saw your diagram. Thanks for putting that. I'm on to the next issue now. I think that's where this is what you meant, right? So this is your comment. The requirement. Thanks for putting this. So basically, once we have from a range, if we get everything together, probably this is how the topology is going to look like. All the control functions on one cluster and the UPF on the other one, along with the Gnode B.
Yeah, it was basically, I was trying to kind of, it's a reference to that other figure where the interfaces were going outside the VM. So I was trying to say that probably that has to, because if we go with a single VM setup with multiple clusters of this kind, then it's all contained inside, but then you still need to worry about those networking between those clusters.
Yeah. Cool. I think we have enough contents in this one, probably.
Sorry, before you move on, I have a quick question on that diagram.
Sure.
For Vim. Is he on? Oh, Vim's on. The AMF, SMF, there's no N4? No, N11? Are we?
N11 is a SBI there.
It's SBA.
Oh, through the SBI. Okay.
Yeah. That's.
And the SBI is going to be default, so it's not NAD based.
Yeah. No, I just blank out because I'm so used to see N11 between AMF and SMF. I forgot that in this case.
SBI based, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Vim. So I think this one is almost ready, I guess. Probably we can close it definitely this sprint. Design document for the NF topology controller. I don't think we have Stephen on the call? Okay, it's not here. And the installer for Nephew, this is Victor. This is very related to this one. I don't think Victor is also not here. Probably Wim, I think you're already discussing, I think, with him in the on the sidelines.
We also discussed this one, correct, yeah. I gave him an approach because here also the installer, if you look under the hood, there were two, so he created a binary for two reasons. And for one, I have a solution. For the second, I think I have a solution. But if that works, it's you just use kept packages.
Okay.
And then we have to put the functions in it. For example, I gave him the hint fish from search and replace. So he needs to replace some parameter from some of the files. Yeah, so that's, I discussed with Victor. So he is looking at the things that I gave him to see what that means.
Oh, are you talking about the kept search and replace function?
Yes, because I had to replace some parameters based on where he was deploying, and I gave him some way to do that through a function.
Okay.
Cool. And this one, I need to tell you that I have a hard stop when this meeting ends. So this one, I think, Liam, yesterday we discussed that this was all done.
Yeah, it's just I think only John has access to the. I think Bim, you tried to merge this, but
No, I
you
cannot.
didn't finish it.
First of all, I cannot. Yeah, I did LGTM, but I'm not allowed to do LGTM.
Yeah, well, we probably have to wait till John gets back, but I think it's probably okay. Yeah, I had one question about how to link issues in pull in pull requests, but I can take that in Slack. I won't tie up the time here.
Let me just add it.
Maybe to answer your question, where he's writing, you can write a fixes and then a colon and then just a link to the issue that it's supposed to fix in the pull request description.
Perfect, yeah, because I've used a similar thing in the Jenkins Garish type setup. So, yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So that covers all our, thanks Liam for that one. That covers all our in progress. Stephen is not here. Do we have Chandar, Ganesh, or Sahir in the call? They are working on these two UI items. I know it's they give us Ganesh gave us an update yesterday. They are making the preparation, they're setting up the environments, they're learning the Kubernetes aspects that is needed to do this UI. So I'm not sure whether I can put it in progress, but I'll keep it like this for now. This one is Stephen. He's not on the call. This one we have given it to Eric for now, but he already told us yesterday about the logistics of this. I mean, this point of time, they are figuring out the CLA license agreement part with their legal team before they contribute directly onto Nephew repo. Yeah, I think that covers the issue board. Any other question or anything? All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Liam.
Yeah, thanks.
There's anything else? I think probably we can end this meeting.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.